In today's world, we only watch the endings, a flashy success story or the brutal collapse. But we don't hear about the full journey that it took to get there. The late nights, tough calls, moments of doubt. On In Between Sips, we dive deep into the raw, unfiltered stories of what these business owners and leaders have been through and who they became along the way. So pull up a chair, pour a cup, and join us. We're just getting started. Because we all know the best conversations happen in between sips. Thanks for coming on the show, James.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
I was really excited to have you on because so often in business and in leadership, we only see the front lines of it all.
Right.
Right. But there's just this concept of servant leadership, and something I've just been so astounded that you have, and you've always had this servant leadership, this mindset to serve, that I was really excited to have you on to get that perspective. And, you know, obviously everything you've been through in your life, just so much wisdom. So thanks for coming on, and I hope we'll have a good time.
My pleasure. Happy to talk about whatever you want.
Plus, I've known you for so long. I mean, ever since the college days. And
yeah, that's probably, 17 years?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
It has.
When we first met, you were hosting your own radio show, right?
I was. It had a real original name, The James Allen Show. But yeah, no, I did host a radio show, and we met at ASU doing politics, and yeah, it was a fun time.
What was it like doing your own show?
Well, it happened by accident, and so I was working in politics. I worked on a few political campaigns, and I met a few people and working on a primary for a presidential campaign, doing media and stuff like that, and then working on a congressional campaign. And it sort of just happened. I was hanging out with a guy named Mark Zimmel and one of the Goldwater guys. And
the Goldwater guys, you say?
Yep. And they were doing a show, and it was a brokered show on 1360 KPXQ, where you pay and you do the show. And so I thought I probably could get a couple sponsors, you know? And so I started off doing that, and it was fun. You know, we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so we had an hour. We were really irreverent, pretty much mocked everything, you know, the sort of younger view that you know more than you do, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And then I liked it. And I was able to get a couple people that were willing to kind of pay to do it. And so shortly after that, we went over to 960 KKNT, and we were able to broker some time there. And then I was able to get sponsors to cover that time.
Yep.
And then as things sort of grew, I ended up working for the station and did sales. And then I went into working in production there.
Yeah.
Like recording commercials, editing, and kept doing the show. So it grew from 1 hour to 3 hours, and they liked the show.
3 hour show?
Yeah. Went from 1 hour.
Are you going to slowly transition this where you're interviewing me now? So you're going to work that?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
so it went from 1 hour to 2 hours, and then eventually went to 3 hours. And
That's
then
awesome.
we were able to get it on AM 970 The Apple in New York.
Wow.
And then we slowly started syndicating the show. And I started writing a weekly column for townhall.com. Well, it wasn't weekly, but I could have done it weekly, but started writing for it. Made some partnerships with the Goldwater Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and yeah, we used the first hour to talk about local politics. The second hour, we did interviews.
Yeah.
And so I started pulling from professors and experts in different places, and really just used it as a way to talk about things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So we did segments like History Under the Fold or on the Constitution. I'd bring on authors that I was interested in to go through their books, would create commercials for them.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. In the last hour, we would talk about like national news and stuff like that.
That's cool.
And
So it was like kind of like you're running your own startup, so to speak, right?
Yeah. So it was on politics, religion, and culture, the stuff that typically people didn't want to talk about. And so we called it Redefining Political Talk. That was our catchphrase. James Allen Show, Redefining Political Talk. Cool. And so it was fun. You know, I got to, you know, meet Dennis Prager, Michael Medved, Hugh Hewitt, got to be Hugh Hewitt's local political kind of guy at Republican events during congressional and presidential elections.
Wow.
Got to spend some time with Dennis Prager. That was fun. Got to interview Michael Medved. Interviewed Dinesh D'Souza a few times, before he went to jail, for his political finance stuff.
Like he said before.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
And, it was one of the few times in my life where I really felt like I was in my purpose, doing what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
But there was some other stuff going on in my life while that was happening.
Yeah.
And so, growing up, I think people minimize things like their childhood and things they've gone through. And I think it's a real problem for people. And we're kind of in this sort of Me Too, woke sort of culture where there's been an overemphasis of talking about those things. And now there's a reaction against that to where almost nothing matters. And so, where I'm at in my life now, I kind of feel like part of my job as a Christian and as people that try to mentor and help younger guys to sort of pull those two worlds together and try to find the truth. But, I have someone in my life, a family member, who reminds me that, you had a pretty challenging childhood. And so I try to, keep that in mind. And so, from an early age, I always struggled in school, just struggled.
Yeah.
So by the time I was in 9th grade, I'd already done most drugs that were out there. It was a difficult thing. And so it was a lot of struggles at home. My dad was an alcoholic. He had polio when he was 3, abandoned by his dad, abandoned my grandmother, my aunt, and him in Globe. And he contracted polio there. So he had a lot of bitterness towards his dad and had a really hard life, about like 10 surgeries by the time he was 11.
Wow.
So he had a hard life. My mom also had a hard life, 12 brothers and sisters, the oldest, dropped out of school to take care of them.
Wow.
And, that sort of, added some context to the way I grew up. My mom had me when she was 40 and was going back to nursing school because my dad was not always able to work.
Mm-hmm.
He owned a landscaping company and did a lot of work that way. But when you walk around on crutches your whole life, you start to deteriorate your back, your shoulders, and he's just constantly in pain, right?
Yeah.
So my dad wasn't always present, and my mom was always working. And so I sort of had this dual life where at home, you're a kid. You kind of don't know. You don't know, right?
Yeah.
You're ignorant, right? So you don't get a lot of that training from your dad. You don't have a lot of that connection with him. And so while I've forgiven my dad, and I love my dad, and both my mom and dad have died, I would do anything just to walk up to my father and hug him and tell him I love him, I forgive you, it's okay. Because when I look in the mirror, I see my dad. I look just like him, right? And so you promise yourself you're never going to do those things as a kid that your dad did. And I found myself, as an alcoholic and a drug addict from a very, by the time I was in high school. So I have a daughter going into high school right now, and I can't imagine looking at her. I've raised my nephew since he's been in 8th grade, and that was a huge, that was a huge realization, seeing him and then going, when I was that age, I was doing cocaine, I was doing meth, I was dropping acid, I was eating mushrooms, I was smoking weed, I was drinking, I was having sex, I was just in a completely different place.
Wow.
And so part of that was at home, I had a lot of that dysfunction. But my dad's sister was married to a pastor, and he was a great man.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's brother was a pastor, and he lived 2 blocks away, and he was a great man. And they were both the pastors of the church I grew up in, Sweetwater Church of the Valley. And they had a school, Northwest Christian Academy. It's where Pure Heart is now, on 43rd Avenue in Gelding, Thunderbird area, right?
Yeah.
And so I was the problem kid. I was the one that, at times people kept their kids away from because, you get it, right? You have kids, one of those things. And so I had these people trying to pull me out of that and trying to help my family. And then a lot of secrets in the family that people would keep because, you just don't talk about what happens there. You protect your family. So it was a lot of codependency, lying, dual realities, sort of like you're a chameleon. You can go in any situation and be whoever you need to be, right? So that's just how I was formed. And so, high school was hard. And there was always this part of me that was wanting to serve God and trying to make sense of my Christian faith. But I had this secret life and these things I struggled with.
Was it due to the introductions to those pastors? And is that where it started?
Well, the pastors were really, really good. It helped me with my Christian walk. The funny enough, the drug culture and stuff came through the Christian school and people in the Christian school that were also struggling.
Really?
And so that's an interesting thing that happens to a lot of Christian schools that people don't realize. And so it's like, I'm going to put my kid in a Christian school, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
It's just not true, right? You have to really be attentive and active with your kids. And so, that's just the way it happened.
Yeah.
Plus there was you're seeing it at home and you're sort of seeing other people hide it. And then it's easy for you to do it too.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, I'd come home from third grade and most kids are like, hey, time to do your homework, right? And my grandma would try to help me, my dad's mom and other people. And a lot of days I'd come home from school and my dad would already be drunk. And he would, it was hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff that sort of set me in my trajectory. And so through high school, I fought this and I had good Christian friends to try to help me fight it. And that was just a struggle through high school. There was, verbal abuse, physical abuse, a lot of neglect, and other types of abuse that come from that type of setting. We don't need to get on all that. But to set up what was going on in the radio days was there was this part of me that was just struggling off and on with this. And so I had a break with it at the end of high school, and I was a musician. I was in bands in high school, and that was a huge part of my life. And when I graduated from high school, barely, ended up going to 4 different high schools.
Oh, wow.
I was living with a friend in his apartment, and he was helping me get through IntelliSchool, which is like a charter school. And I was working at streets in New York, and I took him saying, like, what are you doing, man? You got to finish this. And ironically, he was one of the guys that introduced me to drugs and was trying to help me.
Wow.
And so no blame to them. I take responsibility for myself. But after high school, I got into this Christian band. And this Christian band was awesome. I mean, it was
what was the name of it?
It was called Something Left to Learn.
Cool.
And so
what kind of music?
It was like punk, indie kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And we played tons of church shows. And back then there was a huge scene of church shows and Christian bands and Tooth and Nail, records and all that stuff going on.
Are they still around? That was a huge
I think they
record
are.
label growing
Yeah.
up.
And so that was all going on, and there was this dream of like doing music. And that was another huge part where I felt like I was in my purpose. And so we did that. We toured. We played lots of shows. I was sober. I got back from some shows and a tour I did. I was actually helping at a church plant in the inner city with a pastor that I work with today still, funny enough, full circle, 20
cool.
years, later.
Yeah.
And, I went up to my dad, and he could tell I was stressed. He was trying to help me out, and he gave me this pill, and I took it, and man, I felt a lot better. I mean, I was like, whatever you gave me definitely solved the problem of what I was having, right? And so it took me a while to realize what I was taking because I ran out of it, and it was Oxycontin.
Oh wow!
And so
that's some strong stuff.
Yeah, that started, and back then people really didn't know how addictive that was, and so that started an opiate addiction that followed me for another 10 years. Wow. And so that was very difficult. And so
that's crazy because you were coming off of this high of being on tour and coming back, plugged into the church.
Right. Yeah, we played we got to play a show at the Vans Warped Tour. It was like magic,
cool. Yeah.
right? We met a guy named David Paul who owned a home, had a studio in it. We were recording. We were trying to do an EP to get on Rescue Records when back in the day, POD, that was their label before they went on, I forget what label they were on, but Interscope or something like that. So it was a big deal to us, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like,
that's a big deal. Yeah.
And so I ended up finishing the recording because the guy couldn't help us. And so that's how I got into like audio engineering and production.
Oh, okay.
And so that was a part of my background too. And so while that was all going on, I was, going to church still and really trying to focus on my understanding of Christianity, which I felt was lacking in my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left the church I was at, went to a Reformed church, and was introduced to Reformed theology, which was a great introduction because that really opened up my whole life into a deeper knowledge of God and understanding my Christian identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was some rebelliousness in it, right? Like the people that taught me and raised me, they don't know anything. And, so you get older and you realize, they knew a lot. That's just a different way of looking at it. But the point is, that's a pretty schizophrenic setting you're in, right? And so, not literally
pull back and forth,
but just like in your own mind, right?
Yeah.
And you mix in some normal ADHD and stuff, I struggle with, right?
Yeah.
That was hard. And so that went through a whole season of being on drugs that get you off the drugs. And so you'd see an addiction specialist.
Yeah.
An addiction specialist puts you on Suboxone or puts you on Subutex. And those are alternatives to methadone. And those are highly addictive. And they also didn't know how highly addictive those could be.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put you on antidepressants, mood stabilizers, things to help you sleep. No one's telling you about, hey, have you ever thought about what you eat, how much water you drink, how much sunlight you're getting, supplements, exercise? Nothing there, right? So you get thrown in the 12-step world. The 12-step world, says you can come to a God of your own understanding. There's some ways to look at that when you really read like the basic text of AA and you realize it's not what a lot of other people mean nowadays, where you're in a meeting and someone goes, yeah, man, it's a doorknob, it's a dolphin, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
So that was hard for me, right? Because I really cared about my faith and the truth.
When you're going to a Reformed church, so you're like pursuing this knowledge.
Right. And so it's kind of like, isn't my Christian faith enough sort of thing? At the same time, I'm at ASU. I'm majoring in political science and religious studies and then philosophy. And so I took my religious studies and philosophy degree, put those together, did an interdisciplinary degree at ASU West and transferred over, and that's when I met you.
Yep.
So all that's going on, and I'm still struggling with trying to get off these drugs, to be on drugs. And so there's this time where I'll just quit all of it, then have to go on it, relapses, going into behavioral health units to relapse, come off it again.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of shame, right, that's connected to that time in your life and stuff that goes with it. And a perception that people get of you when you're like that you're always like that, right?
Yeah.
And
well,
so,
it's interesting because like when we met at ASU West, like I had no idea of that. I had no idea of that background and the upbringing. I mean, you
pretty
were
good at hiding it.
Yeah.
So,
you were just the guy running a cool radio show, and we connected well. We had some good conversations, and like that's what I knew initially, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's like I was always trying to work my way out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so in the radio show time, that was another time where I was sober. And I get into this thing. And so you can imagine like, you build up music and it fails.
Yeah.
You build up this political kind of stuff and you go into radio and then drugs cause that to fail. And so at the time when I was on the show, my dad was always sick, always in the hospital. I was always taking him, right? And I was trying to get my dad sober.
Wow.
And so I finally got him to a point to where he was willing to stop taking the opiates. And to be honest, he was in pain. And so there's a level to where he needed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this theory that people that took opiates possibly, it made the pain worse because of how it affected your pain receptors. And so he stopped. And it was great.
Wow. And then you stopped too then as well?
I was already stopped, and he stopped. And so that was a good time.
That's incredible.
And, we were sharing drugs for like years, right? So it's like, that was really good. And so my mom was getting sick. There was something going on with her, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was married at that time.
Had you just gotten married?
Yeah, I got married in about 2008. He died about a few years later, and so that the radio show was going on then.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of chaos, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to keep this persona going, and I was pushing, getting sponsors, interviewing people, and I was making enough to sort of make that my job, and so that was cool, right?
Yeah.
And I was also working at the radio station, so they could see some stuff going on, right? But I was good, and so my work ethic and my personality, and that I'm a nice person and I care, went a long way. So to make a long story short, I took my dad to the doctor and, said, hey, my dad's in pain. Can you give him some Tylenol with 3? It's like Tylenol with codeine, right? Because, he's had back surgery, open heart surgery. So I'm thinking just don't give them this crazy,
Open.
highly addictive thing.
Yeah.
Give them like a lower level one. So we're at the doctor. The guy writes the script. We get back home. I go to the Walgreens to fill it, and I look at it and it says Oxycontin. I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, that was actually after it was filled, and I look at it. I'm like, so I go home. My dad knew, and he's like, hey, give me my prescription. And I'm like, hey, Dad, like it says Oxycontin. Let's put this in the safe. Wait till Mom gets home from work, because she was an auditor by that time. She was she worked in ICU at St. Joseph's Hospital for many years, and then became an auditor where she would audit, for hospitals, for patients, and for the hospital. So that's different than working in ICU, less stressful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. ICU at St. Joseph's downtown was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Long story short, and for my family watching, if I get any facts wrong, I'm trying my best, right? So,
I think you're doing a great job, by the way.
So, my, my dad ended up saying, give it to me. We got kind of in this little fight, and I sort of got frustrated and gave up. And so I get a call about, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And my brother-in-law, who was living there, says, hey, you need to come over. So I go over, and he's like, hey, your dad died. Oh. And so I'm like, so I go in, and I look, and I realize you died because I gave you the pills. And so, I'm just sitting there. My dad, when you have polio, one of your legs is smaller than the other. You wear a brace. And so he was always ashamed of that. So I put his brace on. I put his pants on. I put his clothes on. I, clean up the room. Really kind of like, looking back on it, it's like, wow, what a weird sort of thing that you even think you have to do in your dad's death is protect him from how other people are going to perceive him. Yeah. And that's just something you carry with you, right?
That's heavy.
And so, my mom was slowly deteriorating at that time too. And so she had early set Alzheimer's, was having a lot of issues with sodium levels and confusion. And so then I went through a whole thing with her at the neurological center at St. Joseph's. And then she passed in hospice. And when she was in hospice, it was home care. So there was a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
I'm married.
My daughter, your first daughter at the time?
Yeah, she was born. Obviously, I'm having a lot of conflict with my mother-in-law because she knows.
Yeah.
And she was one of the first people to look at me and be like, you're a drug addict. You're an alcoholic. And just look me in the eye and say it. And I'm so grateful to her for saying that to me. Yeah. Because I don't know if I knew it. Like, I knew it, but like there's a difference between knowing something intellectually and then connecting with your heart. Yeah. And then being willing to do something about it. And so, I started, there's liquid Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine, which is like liquid alcohol, and there's morphine. So I found myself in a lot of pain and taking a couple of squirts of that stuff that was in the fridge and just relapsed again. And that was really hard. And that was a dark time. I was at the radio station cutting up lines in between the hour sessions and, snorting them. I was not in a good place. And my church...
And nobody else knew at the time. You were still kind of living, as you called it, like this dual life.
I think people would look at me and be like, you look stressed. Well, his parents just died. Or, whatever. This is... And it's true, I was, and that's the case, but I was numbing myself. So, at the time, I had a guy who was managing me. And the best thing he did for me was he introduced me to this radio host. And I went and sat in his living room, and he was coaching me, on radio. And for whatever reason, after we got done coaching, he was like, hey, you're good. Your radio shows are really different. Because I would really dive into topics really deep, right? Yeah. And he, he was like, your intro's too long. I had all these clips over this Beastie Boys Sabotage intro. And I was like, nah, I think it's cool. Anyway, he asked my manager, he said, does James have a problem with substances? And the guy just went, and he goes, don't need to say anything more. So that was the guy, even though I'd been to like an AA meeting, but it was like, this is dumb, really helped me see that there was a way to do a 12-step program and to do it as a Christian. And there were Christian roots in this program, and there was a way to help other Christians in that program. Yeah. So that was good. I'd love to say that I went to one meeting and that was it. But no, it's just not my story. I
don't even know if that's a realistic story, though.
There's some people's stories.
In general, where it's like you have
some people have. My sponsor has that story.
Really?
Never did it again. And
I just would think like consistency is everything, and that still though.
Yeah. And so I had a lot of baggage and stuff to work through, and I like to see that I have a body, I have a soul, right? And so there's things I had to work on with my actual physical part, and then also, you know, that past, right? And so, you know, I started working through steps, doing different things. My church had membership, and then something that a lot of people may not be familiar with, which is called church discipline. And so when I would tell people this stuff, they'd be like, "Whoa, man, that's pretty heavy-handed. What's going on here?" But to be honest, I'm very grateful for it. You know, they knew I had some problems with addiction, and my wife, using a principle in Matthew 18, would come to me and say, "You're using? No, I'm not." Come to me again. Are you're using? No, I'm not. And then she'd go get a friend of mine and bring him in and talk to me. And then I would lie to them and then try again. And I'd be like, no, 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 no. You know, you guys don't understand. It's just this other thing, you know. And that happened a few times. And then they take me in front of the church, like the pastor and one of the elders.
Yeah.
And, you know, then I would say, okay, I'll go do this. And I do it. And then it happened again. And they were like, hey, why don't you go to a different church for a while and go to one of these programs? And then I did that. And then I'd come back in, you know, after doing it. And then they'd be like, you know, I'd be drunk or something. They'd be like, hey, were you drinking? I'm like, no, because nobody using substances can tell the truth when they're on them. It's almost impossible. And so that happened, and that caused a lot of stress. And the point of me bringing that up is to say that my pastor, who I respect and is also a past, and said, the stuff you do on your show, you have no integrity. If you're going to live this way, you can't do it. And I believed him. And so I stopped the show. Wow. And that was all around the time when my parents died.
Why you stopped the show, though.
Yeah, so I stopped it for that reason. And I think that was a good thing. So that was very hard. And so I went and did some internet marketing, worked for Gannett, which is a newspaper that had an internet marketing sector. I was always doing, you know, I was doing audio production, video production. I was building websites and doing other stuff for my own show and for other people. And I always had a passion of helping, you know, like teachers and other Christian people get their message out. And then through all that, I got a DUI, leaving Magnums on 7th Street or 7th Ave, 7th Street in Union Hills. And then on my way to a radio show to work, I think I was helping out with KPXQ, the Christian station. I got pulled over with an interlock in my car, and I had drugs in my system from the day previous, right? So the cop's like, hey, man, you look weird. What's going on? I'm like, oh, I'm fine. He's like, blow on the interlock. I blew in it, and he's like, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
I think he said, I think we're going to test your blood. And I think I indignantly was like, yeah, go ahead, right? And so, you know, I didn't have a choice. They were going to do it anyway. So they did. It took about a year for them to process all that. And so then I got a felony DUI. The felony DUI was because I had substances in my body with already a DUI and an interlock in my car. So they were saying like 6 months in jail, county jail. And so I got a lawyer. That was all going on during the radio show stuff in the background with my parents, the addiction,
you're married,
stress in my marriage. You know, I'm trying not to use drugs and my daughter's born. I'm already thinking like, I don't know how to be a father, and I'm a terrible father. I'm a terrible person, right? There's all this stuff, you know, and my mother-in-law is worried. Her family's worried. My family's worried. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like you just have to sort of like, you know, I had no like coping mechanism to deal with any of this. So it was just like, well, I know how to deal with it. I got to go out to dinner with them, so I'll take a drink. I have to go to a movie with my wife. I'll take a pill. So it was just like, it was terrible, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, through that, I found recovery. I found a way to get out of it. And it took me a while of getting out of all that stuff to get off the antidepressants, to get off the mood stabilizers, the stuff for my sleep, and to really get off the drugs to get you off drugs. And so as that was happening, a doctor said, hey, you have ADHD. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so he was like, here's some Adderall. And so that was really helpful in many ways. And so that was another path that I had to go down and realize, well, you can't even take that correctly, right?
Yeah.
And so it really took a long time for me to learn myself. And one of the main things that is taught in the Psalms, which is a full, comprehensive, doxological way of understanding the Bible, is that know God and then know yourself. And so I would interpret myself in the way that other people are and try to borrow from them because I saw them having good progress in their lives. So it took me a long time to learn that there's no pill you can take. There's no drug you can take. There's no substance you can take or anything else, right? And so, that's been a difficult path, right?
Yeah.
And so I lost the radio show. Earlier, I lost the band because of that same thing. I almost lost my marriage. My wife is one of the most faithful women that ever exists.
She's a saint.
The people that know her, she can come off as socially awkward, or sometimes like she's communicating something, says the wrong thing. And so like
I know her, and I don't think that.
Like when I see that, there's times where I just want to strangle those people, because it's like, if you could really see her, then you would understand who she really is, right? And understand maybe what I put her through and what she's been through. Then you would really understand that if it wasn't for her, I'd be dead. Because her faithfulness to her marriage vows is what saved me. Her prayers is what God used as the ordinary means to save me.
Wow.
And I owe her everything.
Yeah.
And so, my point is, I was always able to build something up, and I would lose it because of addiction. And I'm really grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, for other groups like that help me. And, I'm not trying to violate the traditions, and I'm not of those groups, and I'm not even saying what groups I'm a part of now.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that one, but I'm grateful for those groups, and I'm grateful for that time. And in that time, you gave me a phone call and a message on Facebook, and you were saying, "Hey, I'm starting this company, Striventa, and I want you to help me." And so in my mind, I'm going, I can't help you. I can barely help myself.
Well, and at the time, I had zero idea of what was going on. I just knew you as my friend, who now is one of my best friends and my brothers.
Right.
And but at the time, I just thought, this guy works so tenaciously.
Yeah.
And you were the person that was always like not afraid to get the work done. Like I would always like pride myself on like, I can outwork anybody. And with you, it was like, I don't know if I can outwork this guy. This could be a lot of fun together.
It was a lot of fun.
And extremely intelligent, dialed in, all the things, right?
Right.
And so, that's when I had reached out. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing. I think it's an incredible story, especially, people that know you now and where you are now and all that you're accomplishing now is predicated on that foundation, that turnaround. Praise God. Like that's, I appreciate you sharing all of that, of course. And, but anyway, so that's when, hey, I'm starting a company.
So, I was coming out of all that. I remember sitting down with you at Starbucks on like 7th Street and Bell.
It was 7th Street and Bell,
and saying, hey man, I'm happy to do this, but let me just sort of give you some tips. Let me just give you sort of this list. And you were really like clear. You wanted me to work with you. I remember I had to I met you in another coffee shop in Glendale, and I just had to say, I don't have a driver's license.
Yep.
I can't get to the place because I got a DUI. And I think I gave you some of this. I think I was. Yeah,
you started to lay out.
I was
stuff.
honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go like my whole life history.
No, you were honest.
But it's kind of like, I wanted to have integrity and tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And you didn't care.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me. And I was like, wow. That was really weird for me, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see me in the way that I was describing. You saw the potential. And that was transformative. And the backstory I just gave is something that I think is important to that point. And that point is when someone who owns a company is willing to care about people more than positions, and is even willing to move a person around who they see has integrity, is willing to work hard, and they'll figure stuff out, which is a hard thing these days. Yeah. Like, well, I'm not a specialist in that. It's like, who is a specialist at anything, right? And so I'm a generalist. I can figure anything out.
Yeah.
And so
it's a phenomenal quality to have, though. I mean, that's
right. And I didn't realize that till later.
Yeah.
Because I always thought I had to get good at one thing.
Yeah.
And what you did with me was you'd put me on something and I'd do it, and then you'd be like, I mean, for the most part, I know that's not true always, but one thing I appreciated about you was you'd put me in something and I thought I would do pretty good, and then you'd go, huh, and you would learn about how I did it, and then you would find someone then that specialized in that, and you understood like, wow, if we're really going to grow, I can't have 2 or 3 people doing everything. Mm-hmm. And then you'd have me do something else, and then you'd go, huh, and then learn about the process. And as you're learning about the process, I was thinking like, oh, he's going to fire me. why is he asking about how I'm doing all this, right? I must be doing something wrong. And then you'd move me again.
Yeah.
And you kept doing that until you made me your marketing director.
Yeah.
And that was, really great.
Yeah. No, there was never the firing conversation. It was like, I'm 25, 26, right?
Right.
At the time, I think I know what to do, but I'm a young business owner. I don't know nearly what I thought I did back then, right? Just young and
Me
hungry.
either.
And I think the beauty about that time in startup mode was like, yeah, you were the guy that could come in, would serve, would solve a problem, and could move on to the next. It required very little management, right? It was like, hey, we're going to get this done together, and you do it. And
Yeah.
I think that was the goal: is how do we grow Striventa as a company? There are always going to be people that can single focus, but one of the greatest strengths was that you served and you led through that service.
Yeah, I learned a lot about leadership from you.
We had some fun times.
I learned how to work with difficult people I knew personally, people I didn't. I learned how to work with fun clients, difficult clients, neurotic clients, controlling clients, passive clients.
Yep.
All those things.
Yeah.
And it was a transformative experience.
Yeah.
And during that time I was still struggling at times with addiction.
Yeah.
Off and on. I was still struggling with my mental health. And I'm sorry for that.
Oh, no, you don't.
And
really need to apologize.
we
were a team.
And I allowed myself to get burned out. Part of it out of perfection, and then part of it as sharing a vision with you.
Yeah.
But then something I learned is in serving others, especially when you're a trusted leader, there's a part to where you have to know your role and your place. And so it's kind of like if you go out up into Sholo and you go out on Rim Road and you're driving a side-by-side, you'll see cows out there. And then sometimes you'll see horses. What the heck, right? There's wild horses out there.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like a wild horse that needed to have a saddle put on and have it tightened so that I could be broken. And so that was part of the means that God used to break me.
Yeah.
And, about 2018, going to 19, I was playing music again and going through that same pattern. Like, I need something else, these other parts of my identity. And, for whatever reason, I just decided, I'm not going to take these pills anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to take them. So I just threw them all away.
Including the ones that were like prescribed to you that would quote unquote help.
Yeah, that was what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to take these anymore.
Yeah.
And so I threw them away. The doctor's like, you can't do that. I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of going every month. This is so stupid. And I don't know. I just was like, maybe if I don't know. I just started that.
Yeah.
So as you know, we have a Bible study here. And in that Bible study,
it's been faithfully going on for how many years? I mean, it's
7, 8, 9, something like that.
Years, like
more than that now.
Incredible.
I first was going, I was very argumentative, because I had a different view of theology. And, to be fair, there were, there's legitimate disagreements. And so I'm not a person that thinks any distinction is wrong. But, my attitude wasn't right. Yeah. And so as I was getting off the antidepressants and the other stuff, right, there was still like part of my, I need this to survive. I was in this Bible study and they were going over the Sermon on the Mount and talking about the Beatitudes and how blessed people are when they have this particular attitude, right? Blessed are the meek, right? Blessed are those who mourn.
Yeah.
Blessed are the peacemakers. And for whatever reason, this Bible study leader, George, who I was highly critical of, just said, this is how Christians are supposed to feel. This is their attitude. And so, I was like, what does blessed mean? Sort of like challenging him. And he said, it can be translated as happy are they. And I went, happy? And he goes, yeah. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not mourning my sin. I'm pointing out everybody else's sin. I'm not a peacemaker. I'm constantly finding the problem in everything.
Yeah.
I'm not meek. I don't have controlled strength. I'm constantly pushing my view, my way, all the time in everything, all around me, pushing my will and not considering others as greater than myself. And I just sat there and I went, what? I mean, what would you say if somebody didn't have those? I don't remember what they said, but I just walked away from that going, oh my God, am I really a Christian?
Mm.
And it was just this transformative experience. And as I'm going through that, this church that I thought had everything together, and if every church was like my church, then the whole, Christ would return because there would be the kingdom triumphant, right? Completely split. We had some of the smartest people in the world all in one room. And as I was going back into that church, sort of after like a 2-year hiatus, I just noticed this is really weird.
Yeah.
And noticed something, but didn't trust myself. And then found myself disagreeing with both sides of this dispute. So that was going on. I transferred to a different church, and this Anglican church, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is, but I trusted the pastor, who I've known my whole life, who taught it, who was at Sweetwater Church and was my 8th grade Bible teacher.
Really? I didn't realize it was that full circle.
Yeah,
That's
and then
incredible.
also when I was in my 20s in the band, he was the pastor at the inner city church I was at.
Wow.
Which was a great time, right? So he really knows me, and I went to this church at ACU. There's like 5 people there.
Yeah.
And it was just starting, and I'm like,
I remember you were telling me that, like, hey, we're starting a church at ACU because it's right down the road from our office.
yeah,
And yeah.
it was weird, right?
No, I mean, it wasn't weird. It was cool that you were doing it.
It was
but,
weird to me.
Oh,
Yeah, very different, right? But it was just such a broken situation there, and that church was such a home and like a safeguard that then I went, my God, what is this, right?
Mhm.
So Andre Ludoff,
Yeah.
who is a really good friend and somebody who was helpful to me, was helpful during that time. And,
Yeah.
So backing up to that like 2018, 2019 area,
Yeah.
I transferred from working at Striventa to working with John at Century 21.
Yep.
Right?
Who's my business partner. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been like we say in the family, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. I mean, he is somebody that when I started Striventa and you said, who else is at the table? I said, well, there's a guy named John,
Right.
who I trust and respect. I always knew him as Uncle John. I saw the personal side, and then to see the business side, right? It was like, okay,
course.
this is dialed in. And so to have it come again full circle where it's like, it really came down to this moment of like, okay, he's building 4 different verticals in his company.
Yeah.
Like,
and let's be honest, like I was being
who's
a jerk.
somebody we can trust.
I was being a jerk to you.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I was feeling burned out, right? And I was a know-it-all. So that was like that still phase where I thought I knew everything, right? I know how you should be talking to clients. I know what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think some of that like was legitimate, but at the same time, my attitude was wrong.
Yeah.
So connect to that Bible study and connected to actually stop taking those antidepressants and stuff for ADHD and all that. My mind and my ears and my eyes were open to where I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And something clicked.
Yeah.
So all that's going on, right? I get a new job. Now it's like I'm working with John.
Yep.
John's a new boss with new expectations and new ways of doing things.
Yep.
With you, you'd be like, here's your role. Here's what I expect of you. And here's how you can succeed. John, when I transferred over, when probably he should have just said, you should go work somewhere else, decided to give me a break, paid for me to go to San Diego for a weekend with my family. And I came back thinking that I'm going to be doing all this stuff. And I get back and he goes, here's a huge list of all the stuff I want to accomplish. And I'm like, okay, still not understanding. And I was like, but what do I do? And he basically said, you do whatever I need you to do whenever I ask you to do it in the way that I ask you to do it.
Yeah.
Can you do that? And I think I was frustrating him a little bit. He didn't look frustrated. He never looks frustrated.
Never, right?
You know what I mean? I felt like I was.
Yeah.
So let's make that clear.
Yeah.
But I was being very like, I need you to tell me like all the, and he was just like, I don't have time to do that.
Well, in your track record, I mean, you're a professional. You're one of the smartest guys we've ever worked with.
That was
like,
something I wasn't
here's
considering.
the list, right?
So I'm very down on myself,
Yeah.
right? And he's going, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We can do anything together. And so I'm scared, right? And so that's a transformative experience. Part of that was him going, you should come to this Bible study. And then part of that was him saying, hey, why are you living? Why are you still doing some of this stuff?
Yeah.
And so to impress him and to make him happy with all that brokenness from my childhood, that was part of the mixture that got put in with it, right?
Yeah.
All this, and I just got sick of it. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And the stress level that I was under, because I was working with family and different things here, lessened, and then I didn't have to answer to anyone but him.
Yep.
And so it changed the situation to where I went, I'm done with all this.
Yep.
And then I just started walking,
Yeah.
listening to the Bible. All that was sort of going on before I was in that Bible study. God was preparing that path to clear my mind, and that Bible study opened a door for me that I just cannot explain to anybody. The Word of God is like concrete.
Yep. Amen.
To those who can't hear.
Yep.
And then one day there's just some powder there and some water in it, and it mixed together, and then it just created a foundation. Yep. And so, I threw the pills away. I threw the stuff away. I had this transformative experience in this Bible study. I had this new boss that loved me, cared about me, and was like, and he had no reason to. I didn't have the same relationship with him that I had with you.
Yeah.
I mean, he just was like a father to me that I didn't have. And I didn't know what that was like. And it was just so transformative. My God, like how gracious God is when you look back at your life, at all the things that he gives you.
Yeah.
And how ungrateful we can be in our hearts because there's something else going on. And that just started to be like chipped away, heavily chipped away. And so working for him, I just learned so much. I can't even, I really can't just express like how helpful that was. He empowered me and allowed me just to run and do it. And that was good for me at that time because he was also busy, but he gave me little check-ins, and that was super helpful. And we still have those to this day, and I'm not afraid of those check-ins anymore like I used to be.
Yeah.
But he helped me see the parts when I was working with you that were good, and then helped me through inference by not saying it to my face, but showing me through example of being patient. The areas where I was wrong, the good and the bad, the good and the bad in my old church, the good and bad from my childhood, my positives, my negatives, how not to try to change myself and be something I'm not, but to understand who I am, and then to like use that to my advantage, right?
Yeah.
And you know this because he's done it for you. He does it for
100%.
everybody he even comes into contact with.
100%.
He's one of the most influential people in this city. Yeah. He could be a governor. He could be a senator. He's one of those guys, when you get to know him, you realize he could be the president of the United States, right?
Yeah.
But he's smart enough never to do any of those things because it would take away his influence.
Yeah. Anyway,
that was all happening. What multiple gifts of God, right? And working for Century 21 was awesome. We rebuilt a website, created multiple funnels, created tons of content, set up HubSpot in a way that was awesome. Like all the marketing dreams that were there, we did it. And it really worked really, really good. It was awesome. Like it was like full steam ahead, right? I'm sober, I'm focused, I'm doing awesome.
You're helping build like entire verticals of a company.
Yeah. And then he's letting me be involved in each part of it. I'm seeing how he reacts at the top leadership level. I'm seeing how he reacts one-on-one. I'm seeing how that's not different. And I'm going, whoa.
Yep.
And we were successful. We drove a ton of leads. We got a ton of stuff to rank. We recruited more agents. We started fixing all those little verticals, and we got done with stuff faster than I think he thought. And he was like, geez, right? To be fair, I was super annoying in the beginning. I was like, well, how are we going to, asking all those questions, trying to control it.
Yeah.
That's just not his style. He's more agile. And what's ironic is I looked into agile marketing and project management, which made me more rigid. So
that is ironic, right?
Yeah. So he taught me how to be a leader from the back and the front.
Yep.
And he taught me how to adopt his vision, which had nothing to do with money. It had to do with service. And at first I kind of was like, yeah, right. Like that's a good principle.
Yeah.
Like
you thought it was like a sales point, right? Oh yeah,
sure,
that's what we do.
At least 50% of me
But
thought like this is a way like to let
Yeah.
people know like how are we going to use sales?
Yep.
Use that for this other angle.
But you didn't realize it was baked into the
No,
foundation
like,
in a way that's like unshakable.
It's on the side of the building now, serve first.
Yeah.
The values are on the stairs walking up. And for whatever reason, as I was doing the marketing, I started thinking like, what if I started marketing the values? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
and then I was like, what do these words mean? What does this look like?
Yep.
And I'm still going to this Bible study. I'm still hanging out with him. My church completely disintegrated. One of the most hardest experiences I went through, the most painful, like terrible things. It was like shunning people, and
Your previous church, right? The one at ACU, you're still rolling with.
So transferring there, new thing. Throwing away all the pills and antidepressants and all that, new thing. Started walking, exercising, changing my diet. Started like just listening to the Bible like it's, like it's the only, like it's the radio or music.
Yeah.
Started running. I've never ran before. Started listening to leadership stuff. Started listening to David Goggins, Jocko. Started.
Hold on real quick. I remember that because this is a fun time. So I married into a family where my mother-in-law like runs for fun and does like triathlons and does like the huge endurance runs, right? And I always thought like I didn't know that was a world that existed, right?
Me either.
I was always like growing up.
Marathons were even a thing.
I grew up like playing baseball and
me too.
Into
Golf,
football,
baseball.
and basketball, and all that. But I didn't know that was a thing, and so
run 33 miles. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so she had done the Crown King Scramble.
Yeah.
And I had seen that like firsthand, right? Like, wow, she like ran 33 miles uphill. Yeah. And it was when you were getting into it as well. And you said, hey, I want to do that. Like, will you do it with me?
I know.
And I was thinking to myself, what? Like, I enjoy exercise and working, all these things, but like training, like I'd never done a marathon, right? Yeah. I think I had done like a half marathon. Right, but never like I think I've done a couple half marathons, but nothing like crazy like that.
Marathon,
yeah.
And you always were like a gym rat and would work
I enjoy it,
about
but
your
like
health.
This is like a whole different level, and you're like, hey, I'm into running, like this is what I'm gonna do.
Like when I started running, people were like, that's weird. And I think some people thought like, oh, it's the normal phase of people run in. They do it for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
they get into what I mean, like you kind of get hyped up by some of the books or people.
Yeah.
But what you didn't understand was there was this thing in my mind. So imagine like you're on like antidepressants and a mood stabilizer and all this crap for years, and you stop. Well, there's rebound effects to things. You get that. Yeah. We experienced that with cold brew, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine these are like pharmaceutical grade
that cold brew was
stuff,
strong
right?
in the office. Yeah.
So my mind was crazy.
Yeah.
Poor John, poor you, all that. But again, transfer from the other church into this new church, it was just a completely different focus.
Yeah.
This Bible study now is this support, transformative experience, these psychotropic meds out of my life.
Yep.
And then exercise, and then changing my diet, and then understanding what leadership was and learning to be a man.
Yep.
My physical health, my mental health, and then my spiritual health were all there. And then that started to put things into practice in my home, where I said to my family, which I tried to do on and off for years, but would be inconsistent with, we're doing family worship, reading the Bible, praying at this time, and we're doing dinner at this time. So to leave my home, I marked out these brackets on my house, and those are still in effect today.
Yeah.
And it just started changing everything. Everything started changing. All these new worlds started opening up, right?
Yep.
And then COVID hit. And like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like, no one knew. No one had any understanding. No one knew what to do except for John. And John said, I don't know what to do. Everyone else was acting like they knew what to do. So he said, how can we serve?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I remember being at home, everything shutting down, right? And for me, I was thinking like, well, this is great. Now I can be with my family more. Now I can go out in the trails more and run more. By that time, I had gone from, I wonder if I can run for 2 or 3 minutes, to listening to David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, and then hearing his story and identifying with it. Like, I mean, like literally going, this is my story.
I didn't know, again,
like, this is
something I've been grateful.
This is my story.
Yeah, and something I'm grateful for is you introduced me to him, because when we started running, you said, hey, while we're running, let's listen to this guy.
We did. And
so I remember it was
we
like,
would run for hours. You and I would run literally like an hour and a half at a time.
But it's funny when you look back on it, like we're running in the canal, it's 5 a.m., like it's dark out, and we just have this guy like on our phones.
Explicit.
Like,
we had,
Like,
you know,
it's
so
just
we're holding the phone out, running
nuts,
side
right?
by
Yeah.
side. And like, I don't think we started thinking we were going to run that far. We started
No,
running a little bit.
Yeah, he just kept going.
So one night I'm listening to him. I hate to jump around. This is my ADHD brain.
No,
but the point
you're
is,
fine.
like, I wonder if I could run
Yeah.
from this point to this point.
Yep.
And I did. And when I got there, I went, I wonder if I could keep going. And I hit this breaking point. And runners get this, and most of them have to do like walk, run, you know. And I just got this breaking point, and it taught me the greatest lesson, like one of the greatest lessons in my life. Okay? Lesser than the Bible study one, lesser than John, but like it was still a great lesson, which was you can do way more than you think. You can go further than you ever imagined.
Yep.
Stop praying for a lighter load. You get broader shoulders through the suffering that you're going through. And I just kept going. And I went, oh my gosh, this is great. So like that was just a different level. And so running became my mental health medicine.
Yeah.
I still run to this day.
Yep.
And it's a requirement. Like if I get home at 9:00 and I'm still like out of my mind, I'll go for a run. Before church, we meet at 4 because we have to rent from a building. If it's 110 degrees outside at 2 or about 1:00, I go for a mile run. And I, get some sun. I come back, I take a shower, I jump in a cold plunge.
Yep.
And then I get dressed and I go, and it completely changes my attitude. Because when you're serving like that, as you know, if you're having a bad day, if your facial expression is off, if you're not responding to people in the right way, they get hurt, right?
Yep.
And so
it's
like,
interesting
that's
though,
a
like
full a full transformation from like the Striventa time where like
Yep.
every day is a bad day. Now I'm like, there is no bad days. Any mood can be fixed with time. Anything I'm going through can be addressed.
Yep.
I don't have to be doing the thing I'm passionate about. I don't need to be in talk radio. I don't need to be some consultant. I don't need to be a musician. I don't need to be out front, right? I can take those gifts God gave me and I can put them in my little, I can put them on my utility belt. And now I can walk in any situation. And if I'm in church, I'm like, oh yeah, here's how you fix that EQ. If I'm in Rotary, I'm like, yeah, that's how you do this.
Yep.
If some guy at church is going, hey, my live stream's messed up, oh, this is how you fix it. Someone's having a website issue, I can go, hey man, this is how you do it. If someone's going, hey, I wish this content can rank, well, hey, think about it this way. Hey, if someone's going, hey, James, I need you to be a salesperson now,
Yep.
you can do that. And so COVID hit, everything shuts down. Everything's going bad. And John decides, because of a meeting that took place here, where multiple government officials came to him to figure out what to do. That should tell everybody the type of person he is. And he'll never say any of this stuff.
No, he won't.
Right?
I remember that day
I
because
don't know how much I should be saying, right? Like, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like there's that, I'm still an employee like
No.
of him and you. So it's not like I'm
No.
a independent business owner where I have the right to say everything. So I'm trying to be careful, but you know what I mean?
No,
like,
but it's powerful to bring up. Like
it's very powerful.
when this happened,
Yeah.
like city officials, government officials, like
Yeah.
came to him, came to this office for like hey,
upstairs in the cantina. What do we
what-
do?
what do we do?
And
I remember
imagine,
that, yeah.
Imagine, okay, is this an attack from China, right? Is that just propaganda? Is this as deadly as we think? Can we be around people? Do we have to be 6 inches apart, 6 feet apart? Should we wear a mask? Should we not wear a mask? Are people like? Is this like the bubonic plague? No one has any idea,
Yeah.
right? And so there's still those people out there that go, it wasn't that bad. And there's still those people out there that are going, it's really, really bad. The truth was, it was bad. And it wasn't as bad as people thought. There was exaggeration. There was manipulation. There was flu cases connected with it. But there was a lot of people who died.
Yeah.
And it was bad. And no one knew what to do and they were scared. And the point is that when anyone watching this is that you can always complain, you can always blame, you can always point to some sort of worldwide conspiracy, and you may be right. Great. On a lot of those things, I may go, I'm in. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay? Then the question is, well, what the hell do you do about it?
Exactly.
And this is what he did. What problem is going on locally? And he heard something. The blood donations are low. They're always low. But now, with everything closed, if someone gets into an accident or someone gets hurt, how are they going to get blood?
Yep.
So he said, what if we focus on solving that problem? And that's the thing I want people to see, anyone watching this, is that if
Yeah.
you're a leader, what you do is you solve problems. You don't point out problems all the time. You identify problems, and it's fine to think that it's some sort of It's connected to whatever. Great.
Yeah.
Now what do we do about it?
Yep.
And what he did about it was he called me, called Jackie, and said, we're going to call all the churches, and we're going to create mobile blood donation centers, and I need you to call the churches to start getting people involved in this. And I went, yes, sir.
Yep.
And we started calling. We made a list. We did it, and it was very, very successful. I mean, I don't
still
know.
to this day, he continues the blood
Yes.
drive. How many times a year now?
We've done it a couple times a year.
Yeah.
It happens every year on Easter,
Yep.
Easter Sunday.
Yep.
Here. That's another thing John will never tell you about, is that this is a Christian company. It's based on Christian principles, and he'll never throw that in your face, because that's for him, not to throw on you.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I learned from him, is that your Christian faith, your values are something that's supposed to drive you, not to judge other people.
Yeah.
And if you're ever here, walk up those stairs and you'll see that he lives out all those steps. And he put them there not as some sort of marketing ploy, not as some sort of sales tactic, but as a way in which to remind himself of what he believes, because he knows just as well as everybody else that we forget.
Yeah.
And we get bogged down by politics. We get bogged down by religious division. We get bogged down by our family and everything else, right? Or even in our own minds. The Bible teaches us we war against the world, the flesh, and the devil. So he needs reminders, right?
Yep. Yep.
And he has those. And he put it into practice. And, the city recognized what he did, and also recognized these churches as being part of this. And they're listed on the City of Glendale's, website. It's
Yeah.
great. He is one
Yeah.
of the most extraordinary individuals and extraordinary leaders I've ever met. He's taught me everything about leadership. I'm around a lot of guys today and people that say, you have a lot of leadership skills. This is impressive. And I'm going, no, I don't. You have no idea then what a good leader is, because I am in the shadow, if I'm lucky, of people like him. And
Yeah.
so, that was a really hard time. And in that time, Bob Davis, John's, best friend, died of COVID.
Yeah.
So when people talk about COVID not being serious, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe you didn't have someone who died. It was serious. Doesn't mean there wasn't propaganda, manipulation, and lies involved. Both things can be true.
Yeah.
Right? Long story short, I was the marketing director, and I loved it. I mean, I loved it. I was like, this is my purpose. But then John taught me a deeper truth, right? C.S. Lewis talks about like this deeper magic when Aslan is on the stone table, and
I love that we're quoting C.S. Lewis.
and the
I love that you're quoting it.
and the Ice Queen kills him, and he agrees to lay down his life, right, for something else.
Yeah.
Talks about the deep magic,
Yeah.
And Aslan comes back to life and says, "Oh, well, the witch knew about, knew that this agreement we had, but she didn't realize there was something deeper.
Yeah.
This covenant that was made way before she was even around, right?" So John was kind of teaching me some deep magic and reminding me again, like, oh, your role as marketing director, that title, oh, that was just to make sense, not for you, but to everyone else that works here. And I'm going, what? He's like, remember, I need you to do whatever I ask you to do, whenever I ask you to do, and the way I ask you to do it. I'm like, crap.
So what's next?
So what happened was Michelle moved as the director of property management.
Yep.
She loved Bob. That was this is
Yeah.
a difficult transition for her, right?
Yeah.
And Bob was
Let
just one of
alone
those.
one of John's best friends, like, as well.
And
like,
I knew Bob
it's
not as
terrible.
close as they did, right?
Yep.
And the history they have in the rental car business and everything else. I mean,
Mhm.
I wouldn't even do justice to even try to start stating some stories. And
Yep.
I won't do that.
Yep.
And I don't want to state things that, are painful or not my business, but
Yeah.
that was a really hard time for everyone.
It was.
So then they needed someone to do recruiting. They needed someone to do the internal marketing to agents. And I was going, well, that's not my thing. I do this. Look, once again, like with you.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, why are you moving me when the thing I'm doing is working? That was irritating.
Because you're a problem
sometimes.
solver.
That was
'Cause you're a problem
irritating
solver.
sometimes, right? So now I'm going like, why are you moving me? This is it. This is
Yeah.
what I want to do. And he's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I started doing recruiting. I was good at it. They brought on Angela Spratlin, who is the wife of Pastor Steve Spratlin. A lot of people don't know that a real estate client came in looking for help to find a church, and John, in helping them find a church, building for their church, went, you don't need a church. You don't need a lease. You need a friend. So now there's a church here meeting up in the cantina that he's helping that's gone through hell,
Yep.
has been completely abandoned and screwed over by people in the SBC.
Mm-hmm.
People that should have cared and helped them in this church plant as they moved from Tennessee that really didn't follow through on their promises, which
Yeah.
happens in church plants. And so She gets hired to take over Michelle's old position, which I'm kind of doing, not great, right?
Yep.
It needs a female touch. It needs that nurturing touch. But, I'm training agents. I'm teaching classes. I'm making
Yeah, you're still recruiting them just
lesson
fine.
leads. I'm
Yeah.
recruiting. I'm also doing some marketing stuff and, all of it, right?
Yep.
And, Angela comes on. I start training her, start helping her, right, and all that. And I realized now I like the recruiting. Now I like the stuff I was doing. I don't want to give it off to her. So I learned something about myself.
Yeah.
You're afraid of new things, James, because you're not good at them. And you like the praise of men for the things that you're good at.
Hmm.
Another deep truth that came in, right? I'm like, oh, man, I got to fix that. So, she takes over that position. She's killing it. She's doing it better than anyone ever could do it. She's amazing. She's literally she's one of the most important people that works here. She's able to, I have two bosses. I haven't said that yet. Rodica Bartel's the owner broker and John, right? It took me a few years to get, I think, to where Rodica was, where I understood that dynamic, right?
Yeah.
I understand it now, but I didn't then, and so I think I would drive Rodica crazy. And, and I did, for sure.
All love.
But, I love Rodica.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see somebody that moved to America from her country and has completely adopted the American way. I mean, if people really came to our country and went, I'm an American. This is what it means to be American. Yeah. Hot dogs, baseball, 4th of July, our veterans, the flag. I mean, she literally cries every time we do the pledge. Literally. Yeah. Because she loves our country so much. Yeah. She is.
We're going to have her on next because her story is absolutely unreal, where she's, moves here from Romania.
I mean,
works at a company, works her way up to own it. It's incredible.
My understanding, she's a secretary. Now she's the owner broker of one of the #1 Century 21 office in Arizona, one of the top agents around. So what I learned in working with her is I'm actually a lot like her. And that's why I think sometimes we clash. And so it took me a while to learn that. But Angela, she had that figured out from day one, right? Yeah. She's just awesome, right? And that's what they needed.
Yeah.
And so I started going like, crap, what do I do here now? A huge identity crisis,
Well,
right?
because as you stated, you find your identity in what you're doing well for the praise of men. Yeah. So now if you're not doing this anymore, what do you do now?
Yeah. Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair to me for a second. That's like a percentage of it. And Correct. I noticed that about myself.
Correct.
But there was also the truth that the market's changing. COVID has changed things. Yeah. There's major issues in politics and everything else, right? Yep. And it was true, right? I'm running all these campaigns, and I sat down with John and I said, we're not getting the results from this we used to. And he's like, shut it down.
Yep.
We're not getting the results from that. Shut it down. And so I'm shutting down my job. Okay. I'm also managing, other people that worked with me.
Yep.
That, were having some challenges. And, I always look back on that going, what could I have done better? I wish I was better, but it ended up working way better for them.
Yeah.
And, just changes that needed to happen and all those different things. And so I'm sitting there going like, what do I do here still? So I go to John and I propose something. I'll help Angela recruit and I'll also do this marketing. And it was a good idea.
But it wasn't on his list. You said he had this original list.
I think we had completed that list. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like we really completed it in a couple of years. Yep. He was like,
that's awesome.
He was blown away.
Yeah.
And I was blown away.
Yeah.
The only but there was one thing left on the list, and it was on the end of his Microsoft Notes kind of thing, which I was a Google guy, so I always hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd set up all of like Microsoft 365. We had set up HubSpot. We had set up the recruiting lead funnels for all the verticals, right?
Yep.
Except for one. Still on the list. I bring him this list like, hey, here's a job description for me. I was like, I think I had a tie on. I walked in and he looked at me and he goes, what's going on? Right? So it was already kind of awkward. Hey, I wanted to go over this with you. And he looked at all of it and he goes, huh.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I like his heart, I think like softened because he realized what I was trying to do. And obviously he was already kind of like going, like he wasn't going to fire me. He was trying to put me somewhere else. But I think it was also clear that it wasn't just me finding my identity in it. It was also like, I'm not sure if this is the right thing, the position to even have right now, right? So I'm trying to like give refocus to that. And I did it in a good way. And he goes, what if we did something else? And I'm going, what? He goes, what if you got your real estate license and you did property management sales, because Bob is the one who did all the property management
Yep.
sales, right? And so we didn't have anyone to do that. And I went, what?
Yeah.
It was on his list, property
Yeah.
management. He goes, we've never got to that on the
Yep.
list. And I'm going, right, like in my mind, right? And so I said, I was like, well, I also want to make some more money, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes, you will.
Yeah.
And I went, but the way I would do that is I'd be working like Saturdays and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you'll never have to work a Sunday. And I'm like, and so I said, yeah, I'm not sure. And he goes, okay, well, let's not do that then. And so I went away and I'm like, crap.
Yep.
And so for whatever reason, I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I went to him and I said, hey, let's do it. And to be completely honest, like, I was scared. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't sure if I should do it. I had no idea if I'd be good at it, right? So he's excited. He thinks it's great. John's very positive. So I go into real estate school. I fail my school test 10 times, which is common, actually, amongst people who are really good at real estate, because the school test is super hard. They rotate it through multiple versions, and you have to get a pretty high score on it. And they do that on purpose, so you'll pass the state test. So anyway, I'm going through all that. It's irritating to them because it's taking a long time, right? And totally fair. It did take a long time. But think how I felt.
Yeah.
Like I'm going, why did I say yes to this? So while that's happening, I get offered a job that's like 85 grand a year, work from home. And I tell the guy no, because I said I would say yes to this.
Yep.
And then I start failing the test and I'm going, so he offers it to me again with like a bonus. And I went, no, I said I would do this. I'm going to do it. And so I'm just like, crap. Right. So I passed the school test. Then I have problems with my fingerprint clearance card because the DUI stuff. So I have to write this letter and I have to get these things and more annoyance. And then I passed the state test the first time and I get started. The first month I brought in 6. The next month I brought in 10.
And for those not familiar with the industry, you're talking property management, residential contracts. So owners are looking to rent their properties.
Like you bought a new home.
Century 21 is looking to, and then Century 21 is going to rent the property.
Yeah. So
or
like
manage the property as it's rented out.
Like someone like you, right? You had your home for years. Yep. You did all the right things. Your family grows. You want to get a new home. You want to keep that one, right?
Yep.
So we would help you with doing a rental comp for your property. We would help you with tenant placement. We would help you with the monthly management part of it, right?
Yep. All that.
And so that's great for a real estate company because that rental listing helps new agents that work here get leads to build clients, to take that tenant, turn them into a buyer. And then they sell their home, and then you're helping them sell their house and buy a new one. It's a cycle of real estate.
Yep.
Investors eventually sell that house when the AC's old or the roof's getting old, and they 1031 exchange it and buy another one of like kind.
Yep.
It's one of the most. Recruiting's huge for real estate. The property management sales part is huge too. Yep. I'm not really sure which one's better. You need both of them, right?
Yeah.
So they're both very
crushing
important.
it. You're absolutely crushing it.
So I get into it and I start being really good at it, right? I'm still sort of doing it because I'm like, John needed me to. But I get good at it. And so that same thing happens again, that fear, I'm not good at this, I get good at it, right? And so I've been really good at it.
Yep.
And it's been another transformative experience. And again, to take this back to leadership, is that the leadership things that I've learned, even when I feel like, I don't know why I'm doing this, whatever, because it can be irritating, like really irritating sometimes, right? A whole new level of irritation in a different way than I experienced. It taught me, okay, great, you're frustrated. What are you going to do about it? How can you solve this problem? How can you make it better? So now again, I'm used to leading a team, being in the front, being in all the meetings. So now I'm like, you don't have to go to any of those things anymore. So in my mind, I'm like, great. But now I feel this remarkable disconnection from everyone I work with, the company, the culture. I mean, it was hard. I was like, is this really the right decision? Like, what am I doing? But I just did it, and I got good at it, and it helped me really learn this principle, which I think you brought up earlier, and I went on this huge rant about my life to give context to why.
I wouldn't call it a rant. It was great context. It was very inspirational.
Working with you taught me so much about leadership and was transformative in my life. Working for a Christian company and having men around me to encourage me and to help me changed so much of my life. Having people encourage me about what I ate, my health, and all those things changed my life. And people being willing to say, hey, you don't have to do all that because it would hurt my family, my mental health, or until I got stronger, changed my life. And then again, taking on something that at first I didn't want to do. And I'm like, well, this is in my passion. So I don't want to offend anybody, but we have a very feminine male culture right now. We have tons of guys who are like, oh, this isn't my passion. And I just looked back and realized how gay, and I mean that in the literal way, that I sounded constantly walking around talking about my passion and everything else. And I went, there's real work to be done.
Yeah.
There's real people to help. Focus, serve first. And that's the motto that came out of the COVID thing. Serve first, serve first. During like 2019 to a few years later, we had different slogans, right?
Yep.
Better together.
Yep.
All those type of things, right? The serve first one sticked.
Yep.
And it became like, something that you could tattoo on yourself and you wouldn't ever want to remove it.
Yep.
And it just made me go, you don't have to like what you're doing all the time to be good at it. And you don't have to, have something that's your passion to be passionate about it. When John was on your show, he was talking about that himself. Like he was very successful too. He's like, well, I always thought I need to follow my passion. He was like, nah. And he's 100% right. And obviously I'm getting this from him. It doesn't matter if it's passion or not. If the garbage needs to be taken out, take it out. If the dishes need to be done, do it. If someone needs help, you help them, right? Yep. And you can take that into your life. And again, that's another deep magic, to use the C.S. Lewis term, that transforms the way you see the world. It puts you into a position when you realize I'm fully responsible for everything that I do, everything that I think, everything that I feel. And all those things are real things you have to deal with, and they impact others. And out of love for God and love for neighbor, which is a summary of the law, you can act in a way that serves others and shows genuine humility. And so this has been, a transformative job and experience. I've learned more about real estate than I think most people will ever learn. I'm learning now about commercial real estate, commercial property management, and that's a new thing. And it's scary again, right? And you're helping us with a lot of that marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm going, you don't need to be scared. Just keep going. And you just keep learning and growing. And so
Absolutely.
where my life is now, those medications are gone. My relationship with God is real. It's personal. It's objective. And the theology that, I needed in my youth that I kind of worked with has been systematized in a way to where I've made sense of my upbringing. I have respect for it. Made sense of that church I was at and realized it wasn't always bad. It was really good for a long time.
Yeah.
But then people stopped focusing on Christ and it got bad. And I learned how to take that situation and go, that was good. That was bad. That's okay. I'm able to look back at my father and go, hey, you know what? I've done some stuff when I was drunk too. If my dad was sober, he probably wouldn't have punched me in the face and told me I'm a piece of shit. I'll never amount to anything. That's okay. I love him. And when I look in the mirror, I see him. I am him. I can be okay with my mom because I know what it's like to be a workaholic and have to feel like you have to provide for everyone. And I love her. That's okay. I'm okay with having that history of being an addict because while I can never do those things again, that's a part of me, that's okay. Each of those things I've gone through are things in my tool belt to serve others. I have experience in things I've gone through that other people can never relate to. Now that I can sit down and look someone in the eye and say, I know what it's like to be in that situation. I've been there and I've gone out of it.
Yep.
You're in a hole? Great. Let me jump down. Well, how the hell are we going? Now we're both stuck. No.
Yep.
I know how to get out.
Yep.
Let's do it. And so that's how I look at my life now. And I've seen, God working in a new way where I have a deep philosophical and theological background. And I also have this background of going through hell and working through it. And I have this marketing background and this sales background and all these different tools, right? And then I started working in that church plant at the same time. And that church went from 5 or 6 people, and now it's at 40 or 50 people. And we're not in a school anymore. We're renting from a church. And I'm seeing people grow and seeing people connect in their love and relationship with God.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, I can do real estate and I can help in this church plant. And so the pastor, knowing my whole life, was like, hey, do you want to be a deacon? I'm thinking, well, deacons, sort of show up and put out chairs and do what I'm doing anyway, right? Because right away I was like, I noticed, oh, you're here setting all this up with your wife on your own? So I just got there before him. And when he walked in, everything was already set up. And he was like, what happened? I'm like,
yeah, he did it.
I just called. Well, how'd you get the stuff out of the closet? I called security and had him open it. Well, how'd you know to do that? I saw you do it. He went, that's just what I learned from you guys, right? There's a problem. don't sit around
Yeah,
and wait
serve
for someone
first.
else to do it. You just do it, right?
Yep.
And then afterward, clean it all up. I'm like, you guys shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And so I just kept that going. So he's like, hey, you want to be a deacon? And so in Anglicanism is very broad. It's the largest Protestant denomination in the world. A deacon is an ordained office. It's not like,
Yeah.
I was a deacon for 2 years at my Baptist church. Now I'm not, that kind of thing, right? It's an ordained
Just kidding.
office, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, sure, I'll do it. So I go into this process being called a postulant. And John, in his grace, had to write a letter of recommendation for me while I did this, while I'm in the real estate school sort of thing,
Yeah.
which just shows you he's multi-layered and able to see multiple things at once and is patient. So
Yeah.
long story short, I go into that.
Yep.
And I was a postulant for 3 years now. And that's a place to where it's like the military, where they treat you like, again, oh, your job is to do whatever I tell you, whenever I tell you, exactly how I tell you. I don't need your feedback. Do you understand? Yes, sir. And it is literally the level of service that is so gritty and so dirty at the foundation of it that it's just next level.
Yeah.
And so Anglicans have bishops, and bishops are over a diocese of churches. And the bishop that I have is very highly respectable, ecumenical person throughout the world, is the dean of the Anglican churches in North America. One of the highest honors he gave me was, he said, you know how a postulant should be? It's like him to me.
Wow.
Meaning someone who understands that serve first mentality.
Yep.
Now, I'm around guys that are really theologically in depth and writers and all those people. He's like, that's important. And so this process has been crazy. I've completed, a certificate in seminary. I'm about 70% through a master's of religion degree, chipping away at it on the weekends and while I drive around doing real estate. So I'm driving out to Gilbert, and I have the online class and put it on.
Yep.
Someone calls, I take the call, do the thing, add it in, and then put it back on. And then when I can write, I write. Sometimes I use talk to text, and I put it on a mess, and then I sit there and I edit it and I make it work. I get the job done however I can. And I think I've written probably over 500 pages in the last, long. And I just finished my written exam for ordination, which ended up being 90 pages, which I just did 2 questions a night for 30 days. Kept doing it. A little bit at a time, which is what I learned from you. Take a big problem and make it smaller. Take a smaller problem and make it smaller. And then when I went with John, then he would say, oh, now take that smaller problem and turn it into step by step. And then you think about what a sponsor would tell you to just get it a day at a time, an hour at a time, a minute at a time. And you realize with consistency and with grit, you can keep going. And so all those things mixed together, it made me realize God's in control. God is working in my life. These are all gifts and things I should be grateful for.
Yeah.
And that there's a level in which, for me, I've learned to know my place. I'm not the owner. While I have an entrepreneur spirit, I'm a leader with great owners like you and like John and like the people in my church, whatever, right? And there's a pecking order. And I've learned to be broken and have that saddle put on me to where I can use my purpose because I know who I am. So I know I'm a generalist. I know I can be flipped around in many different situations. And what's fascinating is that's literally the description of a church planter.
Yeah.
And so that's like another thing that's happening. And I've learned enough about myself to say, don't do it all. Don't get too bought in. Wait for other people to help you. Create opportunities. Be patient. Don't burn bridges. Realize it's like a tree, that a rose bush that blossoms. And in the summer, you have to cut it all back and then it grows again.
Yep.
Be patient. Same thing with property management. Same thing with my leadership with the property management team. Learning how to develop relationships with each individual person. Learning how I can serve and help them. Letting them know what I'm saying, how I'm doing it. Is that affecting them? Is that their understanding of what we're selling? Is that their understanding of the process? And then going, hey, could you help me with this so we can solve this problem? Right?
Yep.
So instead of going to John or a deacon going, hey, I'm having this problem with these people, which I've done, then I realized that really didn't fix it. That just made these people mad at me.
Yeah.
Then going to the person, the property manager or the person I work with, and going, that didn't fix it. That made the director of the department mad at me.
Yeah.
Then figuring out how, in what setting, and in what context does it make sense to fix this problem? And then learning how in each situation, how to have wisdom and how to have discernment based on what's going on. And so it's like a life story of learning how to lead from the back instead of the front. And those leadership positions are just as important as any other leadership position, because if you don't have those, you have complacent people who don't understand the gift they can get if they lean into the things they don't want to do.
Love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for all that you shared. It's inspirational for anybody listening. If hearing your story and the transformation doesn't inspire them to run through a wall
Or an ultra marathon like we did.
Or an ultra marathon. I don't know what
Two
will.
ultra marathons we did.
Yeah, one was self-guided. We'll get to that next time.
Yeah.
Anyway, but thank you.
You're welcome.
One of my best friends, my brother. I'm so proud of you. So proud of the growth and the inspiration that you continue to provide on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And the leadership you show each and every day. So cheers to you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right.